الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Again, if we can just come a little bit together, please. We're all spread around. Jazakumullah khair. Well, I was expecting more since last week, and this, already the toll of Ramadan is taking an impact on our youngsters and our middle-aged people and everybody else that goes with it. We need to stand firm and try to see out. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, as they say. So we need to see if we can speak to others and ensure that we have people trying to benefit, inshallah ta'ala, from the gatherings. Last week, which seems such a long time ago, I started, my sort of whole theme was about the miraculous nature of the Qur'an. So I started with Surah Al-Fatiha and the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah. And my aim was to explain the understanding that we can get from who we are, our identity, and what responsibilities are placed upon us because of our identity. Today I'm going to sort of explore another part of the Qur'an, which we all should be familiar with, which is Surah Al-Kahf. Now, Surah Al-Kahf is what we recite every Friday, or rather we should recite every Friday. And there are many benefits which the Prophet ﷺ himself has spoke about. One is that the person is illuminated from one Friday to the other Friday. The other thing that one gains from it is protection from the Dajjal. So it is recommended that one memorizes the first 10 ayats and the last 10 ayats of Surah Kahf as a protection against the Dajjal, or the Antichrist, as it's referred to among some traditions. Now, when we look at Surah Kahf, we find that it's mainly about trials and tests, but different types of trials and tests. So, for instance, when we start from ayat number 9, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا. Did you think that the companions or the citizens or the residents of the cave والرقيم, they were from the آياتنا عجبا, very unusual, very extraordinary events? And then it discusses the following ayats as to who these individuals were. إِذْ أَوَى الْفِتْيَةُ إِلَى الْكَهْفِ فَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِنْ لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً. When a group of young people were living in a particular society, and what they did was they sought refuge in a cave, and they asked for mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happens to them? فَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ فِي الْكَهْفِ سِنِينَ عَدَدًا. They are put to sleep. The sleepers of the cave, this is sometimes referred to. ثُمَّ بَعَثْنَاهُمْ لِنَعْلَمَ أَيُّ الْحِزْبَيْنِ أَحْصَىٰ لِمَا لَبِثُوا أَمَدًا. Then we brought them back. We brought them out of their sleep to determine how long they had been asleep. نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ نَبَأُهُمْ بِالْحَقِّ. And we will narrate to you their story or their event with truth. So we then get a background. إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. They were a group of young people who believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increased them in guidance. وَرَبَطْنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ إِذْ قَامُوا فَقَالُوا رَبُّنَا رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَن نَّدْعُوَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَٰهًا لَقَدْ قُلْنَا إِذًا شَطَطًا. That when they stood and they said, O our Rabb, the Rabb of the heavens and the earth, we will never call other than him a God. Indeed, if we were to do so, then we would have made an enormity in disbelief. So when the whole community was engaging in this activity, these young people had no choice but to exclude themselves. We live in a society now, unfortunately, where wherever we go, we are put under trials and tribulations because of our faith. Whether it be at work, we're constantly asked, why did your Prophet ﷺ marry somebody who was 9 years old? We're constantly under that kind of pressure. Or do you agree with what they did when they blew up that church? Do you disagree with that? Why is it you fast for? Constantly our religion is under pressure, whether in a working environment, at school, outside. But it won't be so different or difficult if we found those people who did not accept our faith were on one side and those people who accepted our faith were on another side. But unfortunately, we are challenged by people within our faith. So if a person wants to have a wedding according to the Sharia, he has to fight against his whole family in order for that to happen. Now, he's not fighting against non-Muslims here. He's fighting against his own family in order to say that I want my marriage, or I want my son's marriage, or so-and-so's marriage according to the Sunnah. So when we sit with friends, unfortunately our conversation or our discussion goes towards haram in some way or another. If it is not ghiba, then it's the things we will engage with to pass time. So we struggle with our friends. Our family, if we are at home, we will struggle there. So this is what these people did. These people had no choice but to seclude themselves from society, to exclude themselves from society. And this is not something strange. This is something which is recommended by the Prophet ﷺ every year. That is why we have 10 days of i'tikaf. We forget what the purpose of i'tikaf is. I'tikaf is to seclude yourself, to disconnect from the society. Because when we're in the society, unfortunately, our ego can be easily provoked. So we want to compete with the Joneses. We want to compete with people. We want to be equal with people. So even if we can try to be steadfast, then we get drawn into it by somebody else. So the only way we do that is we come into the masjid. In the masjid now, our breath smells. We can't make ghusl unless it's a state of janaba. So we can't bathe. So we smell. We're hungry, so there's no desire for anything. So we're cut off from the world. We realize who we are. We connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similar thing happens when we go for Umrah or for Hajj. We wear simple garments. We smell. We are not allowed to apply perfume or ether or anything. We stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 2 days or 3 days. For Hajj 5 days, 6 days. But this is not just an act that we do and when it's finished we move on. This is a process. It's supposed to bring about change. Because we ourselves, unfortunately, can't cut off from society. We're too dependent on people around us. We're too dependent in engaging with people. We can't isolate ourselves. It's too difficult. Yet when we look at the Prophet ﷺ before revelation came to him, he spent so much time in isolation. His wife Khadija radiallahu anha would prepare his food for him. He would take that food and he would go to the cave and he would sit in the cave. This is before revelation came to him. Because in order to reach a purified state, in order to reach purity, one has to first dissociate. And this is exactly what the people of the cave did. They dissociated. In order to preserve, in their case, in order to preserve themselves. So what was their trial? I mentioned to you that Surah Kahf is made up of trials. Their trial was of their faith. Their trial was the trial of their iman, which we constantly are under on a daily basis, is our iman. Because we see regularly, constantly, the battle of hearts and minds going on all the time. where every aspect of faith is challenged and ridiculed, in order that we feel uncomfortable to even declare that we're Muslim. But there's an example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed for us in the Qur'an. They weren't, and if we say, oh, they were all old people, they had nothing better to do anyway, they were in their 60s or 70s, they'd already married, their children had grown up, they had nothing to live for anyway, so obviously they were not. This the key, we need to understand who the individuals were. They were youngsters in their prime, had everything to offer for them. So we need to understand that's one thing, is the trial of our faith. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test us in our iman, like He tested these individuals here. Next, I'll move forward. We go across to ayat number 32. And in all of Surah Kahf, there's some very interesting sort of qissa, stories you could say, which really assist a person in where they are in their iman. Unfortunately, because we don't understand Arabic, then we just look at the Qur'an and we just see words and we just recite it, and don't get me wrong, obviously there's a reward for reciting, but we don't really know what's going on, so we can't do tadabbur, we can't reflect, we can't ponder, it can't pull on our heartstrings, it can't impact us like the way we could listen to a song and it can have an impact on us almost immediately, because unfortunately we don't understand the words, it doesn't move us. So as I was mentioning, I've just come back from London, and when I was doing a lecture there, I mentioned I came across a study, and in that study it mentions that there are 2,000 words approximately in the Qur'an which are often repeated, and if a person was to memorize those 2,000 words, then he would know 80% of the Qur'an. And as we know, Amma Para has the most unusual vocabulary compared to the rest of the Qur'an. So we then had a chap in front of me, must have been an accountant, because I said, okay, what's 2,000 divided by 367? And he gave me a figure pretty quickly, which I've now forgotten. But we worked it out that if a person was to learn a word after every salah, within 1.3 years, he would learn those 2,000 words. Now, all of us in here are over the age of 1.3, which means how many years have gone past? And I don't want to say this, but if I am invited next year and I see your faces again and I ask you the same question again, most of you will just look down. If I say to you, did you learn your 2,000 words? Did you learn your 2,000 words? Did you learn your 2,000 words? Everybody would look down. Because unfortunately, when we say, are we ready for this, brothers? And we all say, Inshallah. This is the Inshallah for Jama'ah. Meaning, maine jaunga bhai. Lekin majbooran, if Allah is going to force me to go, then I will go. Inshallah is supposed to be full conviction in the heart, but then obviously you leave it to the mashiyat of Allah, the will of Allah. But it's got to be full conviction in the heart. Now we can make a start. Nobody has to become a scholar of deen, nobody has to become a mufti, nobody has to become a shaykh al-hadith. But to understand the words of your Creator, surely that's binding on every single one of us. So when we get to ayat number 32, there's another area now which there will be a challenge or will be a trial. وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا رَجُلَيْنِ Give them an example of two men. جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ We gave to one of them two gardens, مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ From vineyards. وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ And the gardens were surrounded by palm trees, date palm trees. وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا And we had made in between these two gardens we gave him cultivated fields. كِلْتَا الْجَنَّتَيْنِ آتَتْ أُكُلُهَا Both of the gardens would bring their crop, their fruits regularly. وَلَمْ تَزْلِمْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا وَفَجَّرْنَا خِلَالَهَا نَهْرًا And we also made in between it rivers which flowed through. وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ And he would have fruits from there. فَقَالَ لِصَاحِبِهِ So he said to his colleague, his companion, وَيُحَاوِرُهُ He was conversing with him. So he looked across at his gardens. So he said, Ana aktharu minka. I got more than you. Look at my gardens, look at your gardens. Your gardens are smaller than my gardens. My gardens go like this thing here, whatever. Like when you buy a car, and then you look at your next door neighbor's car. Then your brother gets a better car than you. Then you think, all right, and you go get a better car. So then you do a bit of renovation in your house. Your cousin does renovation in his house. You think, hold on a second, you put an extension. He puts a double extension. You put a triple extension. Without even getting planning permission. It's exactly what we're stuck in. What is this trial? This is the trial of wealth. This is the trial of wealth, where we can't help but compete with one another. We know to get more and more, work longer hours. Forget about the time with my family. Forget about the tarbiyah of my children. Forget about ibadah. Forget about this. It's the money. I need more. I need more. I need more. I need more. So this is the trial of wealth. وَعَزُّ نَفَرًا. And I've been given great honor and the groups of individuals that I have with me. وَدَخَلَ جَنَّتَهُ وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. But what he failed to realize when he entered this garden, he was an oppressor to his own self. قَالَ مَا أَظُنُّ أَن تَبِيدَ هَذِهِ أَبَدًا. I don't think that this will ever go. Like when a person has an income or has a source of income, he never dreams for 1 minute that that will disappear. Every year, he's thinking that he will get more. He never thinks he will get less. Next year, I'll try to increase my income from 25,000 to 35,000. Then the year after, I need to go for 45,000. He's never thinking, hold on a second, what if it goes the other way? What am I going to do? وَمَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمًا. So we have this example. قَالَ لَهُ صَاحِبُهُ وَهُوَ يُحَاوِرُهُ أَكَفَرْتَ بِالَّذِي خَلَقَكَ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. Are you denying? Are you ungrateful to that being that created you from soil? ثُمَّ مِن نُطْفَةٍ. And then from a coagulated blood. ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا. And then formed you into a man. لكنه الله ربي ولا أشرك بربي أحدا ولولا إذ دخلت جنتك قلت ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله. If, however, he had gone into the garden and associated the greatness to Allah but not to himself, if he said, all this is due to Allah, this is a ni'mat from Allah, this is not my doing, this is not because I'm so qualified or I'm so intelligent or I'm so smart or because I've got the gift of the gab or because I've got contacts or whatever. He's not associating this income or this position to himself. He said this is all due to Allah's favors. And this is showing gratitude. This is a way of expressing gratitude. Is when you associate to the real provider, who is Allah, then that is expressing gratitude. If someone does you a favor, so he helps you out. You're stuck and you ring a brother and say, brother, I'm stuck, I need to get to the masjid. He picks you up and then you get here. And then somebody asks you, oh brother, how did you get here? I heard your car was broken down. Say, yeah, I sorted it out. And if your friend's listening, he's going to think, cheeky, I brought you here. So he feels bad because you've not associated that to him. He wanted you to acknowledge his favor that he did for you. And instead you denied it. So he's going to get upset with you. The next time you're doing, oh bro, get me to the masjid. Say, yeah, whatever. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us these things, and we associate success to ourselves, and when something goes wrong, what do? Ya Allah, why did this always happen to me? Well, hold on a second here. So if the success is yours, why isn't the failure yours? So we get trapped. And this is the trial of wealth. We move forward. And this is a very detailed story that we have. And again, as I said, I could spend, hours. This is why I'm sort of skipping through Surah Kahf. Because there's so many things going on. And this is where Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is traveling and he's sent to meet up with Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, and he takes with him his assistant, in which they carry a pot in which there is a fish, and the sign is that when they've reached the point where Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam is going to be, the fish will kind of miraculously jump out of the pot, the bucket, and make its way on its own, either tunneling through the beach, the sand, and make its way to the river. And that will be the sign. So with قال موسى لفتاه لا أبرح حتى أبلغ مجمع البحرين أو أمضي حقبة, that we didn't feel this fatigue or we didn't get this tired until we went past this place. So they go back and then they look and they meet Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam. And when they meet Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, he takes them on an amazing journey. An amazing journey where ustad and student are learning something. So when he meets him, he says to him, فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِّنْ عِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمًا مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا قَالَ لَهُ مُوسَى هَلْ أَتَّبِعُكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُعَلِّمَنِي مِمَّا عُلِّمْتَ رُشْدًا? Is it okay if I follow you, if I'm with you and you teach me that which you've been taught from guidance? So Khidr's response is, قَالَ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. You won't be able to stay patient. What you see, what you witness will cause you to react. Why? Because you are a prophet. And a prophet cannot see wrong and not say something. And I will be things which you will perceive to be wrong. But you will need to remain patient in order to understand what is the truth behind it. So Musa responds, he says, وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا. How can I remain patient when you've not informed me what exactly is that's going to happen? قال فَإِنِ اتَّبَعْتَنِي فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِي عَنْ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى أُحْدِثَ لَكَ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا. That if you were to follow me, if you were to come along with me, if you were to accompany me, then don't ask me regarding anything until I speak to you first. فَانْطَلَقَا, so off they went. حَتَّى إِذَا رَكِبَا فِي السَّفِينَةِ خَرَقَهَا. A ship sailing by. They recognized Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam. So they invited him in. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam went with him. They offered money. They refused. They said, no, we don't want to take money from you. You just make dua for us. Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam has not even sat down yet when Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam starts to break the ship. He's ripping plank after plank. So Musa alayhi salatu was thinking, what's going on here? So he said, أَخَرَقْتَهَا لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا. Are you going to destroy this ship in order to drown its occupants? What are you doing? Why are you destroying this ship for? Immediate response was, لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْءٍ إِمْرًا. Sorry, Musa carries on. He says, you're doing something which is evil here. This is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. First of all, you shouldn't be doing it anyway. On top of that, they actually let you come on here for free. So instead of repaying the favor back, how are you repaying their favor? Khidr reminded him of the original agreement. He says, قَالَ أَلَمْ أَقُلْ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. Didn't I say to you that you won't stay quiet? What did we agree just earlier? That whatever you see, you won't say anything until I explain it to you. قَالَ لَا تُؤَاخِذْنِي بِمَا نَسِيتُ. He said, don't take me to task, Musa says, for that thing which I have forgotten. وَلَا تُرْحِقْنِي مِنْ أَمْرِ عُسْرًا. And don't take me to task too heavily, too strong. Don't have a go at me, basically. فَانْطَلَقَا. So Khidr accepted that excuse and they carried on going. حَتَّى إِذَا لَقِيَ غُلَامًا فَقَتَلَهُ. Until they came across a young boy playing with some other boys. Khidr comes up behind the young boy and snaps his neck. So Musa is shocked. He just killed an innocent child. The child hasn't done anything. They didn't witness anything. So حتى إذا لقي غلاما فقتله. قال, he said, أقتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس. Have you killed an innocent child without any retribution? قصاص, يعني he hadn't murdered anybody. You just did that. لقد جئت شيئا نكرا. You've done the most evil thing. Again, Khidr reminds him, قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. Did I not say to you that you would not be able to remain patient? This is the second time now. قال إن سألتك عن شيء بعدها فلا تصاحبني. Musa said, if I say anything again, give me one more chance. If I was to say anything again, then it's fine. You don't have to keep me with you. Don't allow me to accompany you. قد بلغت من لدني عذرا. Then you have reached to you rather my excuse. فانطلقا, so off they went. حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية استطعما. Until they came to a small village in which they asked its people, could they provide some food for them? فأبوا, so they refused. أي يضيفوهما, that they would provide some food for them. فوجدا فيها جدارا. So as they're leaving the village, they saw a wall on the outskirts of the village. فيها جدارا يريد أن ينقض. It was about to fall, it was about to collapse. فأقاموا, so Khidr fixed it for them. So Musa was even more puzzled at this, because he's thinking, قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا. Why didn't you say to them that we'll fix your wall, and when we fix your wall, you can give us some food? We'll have got some food then. Why did you do this for? You've just done it for free. قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك. Khidr said, that's it. Is it the third time? You're going to separate from me now. سَأُنَبِّئُكَ بِتَأْوِيلَ مَا لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. Now I'm going to explain to you the interpretation of what you saw, what you perceived, and what was really going on. أَمَّا السَّفِينَةِ, as for the ship, فَكَانَتْ لِمَسَاكِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ فِي الْبَحْرِ. These were poor fishermen who had that ship, they owned that ship. فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا, so I intentionally damaged it. وَكَانَ وَرَاهُمْ مَلِكٌ يَأْخُذُ كُلَّ سَفِينَةٍ غَصْبًا. Because as they would have gone further, then there's a tyrant king there, and he takes any ship which is in good condition. And he would have taken the ship off them, and then they would have had nothing. Because the ship was damaged, the king didn't take it. So he gave that explanation for him. وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامِ, as for the young boy, فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ, his parents were believers. فَخَشِينَ, so we feared, أَيْ يُرْحِقَهُمَا, that he would oppress them, طُغْيَانٌ وَكُفْرًا, and he would deny Allah, and he would separate from them. فَأَرَدْنَا أَيْ يُبْدِلَهُ, so we intended to exchange, or their Rabb intended, أَيْ يُبْدِلَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا خَيْرًا مِنْهُ, a better child than this child. زَكَاةُ وَأَقْرَبَ رُحْمًا. وَأَمَّا الْجِدَارَ, and as for the wall that I repaired, فَكَانَ لِغُلَامَيْنِ يَتِيمَيْنِ, there's 2 orphan children in that town. وَكَانَ تَحْتَهُ كَنْزٌ, and their father, who was a pious man, had buried his money under this wall. Because if they had access to it, then they would have been taken off, young boys. So his father had buried it under, made dua to Allah, and had the wall collapsed, people would have seen the money there and they would have taken it. So whilst this wall remains, those 2 boys will grow up, become men. When it collapses, then they will be able to take it. So these were the 3 that Khidr explained to Musa. So that is the trial of knowledge. So Allah SWT will test us in our knowledge. And last one, as we get to the end of من الصالحا فله جزاء الحسنى وسنقول له من أمرنا يسرا ثم أتبع السبب حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا. So this explains the travels of Dhul Qarnayn, and we don't have sufficient time as to who Dhul Qarnayn was in the history. And he comes across a people, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and how he had been given great power had Dhul Qarnayn. He was able to travel across great distances. He had a huge army. And at one time he had power over 3 continents. So his trial was power. So in all these 4 examples that we've discussed today, they are not just stories in a book that we read to children. The Qur'an is as applicable now as it was 1400 years ago. And because this is applicable now as it was 1400 years ago, we need to try to understand that why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling me this in 2019, Sa'in BDA? What is he trying to tell me? Is he giving me a history lesson? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not giving us a history lesson. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us, that you will be tested and trialed in your iman, in your mal, in your ilm, and in your quwwah and your strength. So power, knowledge, wealth, and faith. And examples were given of various individuals or various people throughout the years who had reached the pinnacle of that, who had reached the heights of their faith, wealth, knowledge, and power. And yet they did not succumb to those trials and fall foul of them. Because what tends to happen is when a person is tested by their faith for the sake of ease, for the sake of comfort, he gives up what is part of his faith, just to fit in, just to be easy. And when it comes to wealth, unfortunately, we succumb and slip and attribute all that wealth to ourselves rather than attribute it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it comes to knowledge, it gives us arrogance. So in all of these, and power, it gives us arrogance. In all of these, what we do is we set ourselves up as an idol in challenging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now I know this, I have this. So as we pondered over Surah Kahf, we should reflect in our own circumstances. What is the state of my iman? How am I treating my wealth? What kind of feeling is it giving me? What about the knowledge that I have and the power that I use? And the example, this was only one surah that I just picked pieces of ayats throughout there. The Qur'an, over 6,000 ayats. 6,000. Each one carrying so much meaning. Whether it's ahkam, whether it's stories, whether it's about the hereafter. There is something each one of us can gain from it. But that how will come, inshallah, is if we put some practice upon engaging with it and also learning the language associated with it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give myself and everyone listening the tawfiq and the ability to have access to the kalam Allah, understand it, and also apply it in their lives. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.